Hi guys, it's been a while. I just wanted to show off one of my latest EDH decks that I've been kind of tinkering around with. There's a couple cards in there that may end up being taken out, and I'll point them out to you. Yeah, let's get started. Narset Enlightened Mastered. She's a pretty broken card. I think she probably will get banned, but for now, let's try and have fun with her. So, I'm going to start with the lands here. Hall of the Bandit Lord lets you attack with her as fast as possible. The variation that I've gone with has more equipments than enchantments, so I'm running Academy runes to grab back some of my good equipments to bash face with. Maze of Ith I put in there because I wanted something to protect myself early game while I set up. Gemstone Caverns, it's just mana acceleration. It lets me pretty much cast 2 lands on turn 1. This guy gets cast by turn 0. And it also acts as a multicolor land if you cast it by turn 0. Ancient Tomb, mana acceleration. Sulphur Falls. Steam Vents. Scalding Tarn. Is it Boilerworks? Glacial Fortress. Hallowed Fountain. Flooded Strands, Azorius Chancery, Clifftop Retreat, Sacred Foundry, Forest Garrison. I don't have an Arid Mesa, so that's why it's not in here. I might end up getting one. I don't really think it's necessary to have it, though. Cavern of Souls lets you cast her without having to worry about her getting countered by those annoying control decks. Mana Confluence gives you all 3 of your colors. Mystic Monastery, I stuck it in this deck just to have a little bit of flavor, plus it gives you 3 lands colors. Command Tower, and then I've got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands. 1, 2, 3, 4 mountains. 1, 2, 3, 4 plains. Okay, now we're on to the mana acceleration artifacts. Expedition Map lets you grab some of your colorless lands to kind of control the game with and accelerate. Soaring, Mana Vault, and then all 3 of the signets in the color. I love these signets. The signets are very good. Chromatic Lantern gives you all 3 of your colors and accelerates. Coalition Relic can give you all 3 of your colors and accelerates for 2 mana potentially. Now I stuck land tax in this deck as land acceleration. It doesn't really accelerate you, but it's good for mana fixing, and it lets you filter your deck and like thin it out so that you're drawing more into your spells and less of your lands, so you can dig through faster. Onto the equipments. Sword of Fire and Ice lets you bash face with that. Dark Steel Plate, I stuck in there just to deal with certain board wipes. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it in the deck or not. Umezawa's Jetty, removal, life gain, pump up. Pretty ridiculous card. Ring of Velkus, that may end up being taken out of the deck if I can find something better. Right now I just can't seem to find a better thing to fill that slot. Gives her haste, and it lets her incrementally get bigger and bigger each turn. Argentum Armor, removal, pump spell, pretty much. Sword of War and Peace. You pretty much win games when you cast this onto her. It doesn't take long to win. Same with Sword of Feast and Famine, and it's also a combo card with another card in this deck. Lets you take infinite attack steps. Luckstone Warhammer, life gain, trample. Inquisitioner's Foil is one card that I don't normally put into decks, but since Narset has First Strike, it makes it more viable. So you're dealing double damage. You can easily do like 40 damage in one swing with Narset by like turn 5 or something silly. Yeah, it's a pretty good card with Narset. Batterskull. I put this in the deck as like a secondary creature in a way, in case Narset gets tucked into the deck. It's a good alternative to bash face with, and it also kind of has a way of protecting itself by bouncing back to the owner's hand. I can also tutor for it, unlike Narset. Onto the aura enchantments. Dragon Wings gives her evasion, and it's also a draw spell. And one of the cool things about these is it's also kind of dragon themed, so Khans of Tarkir with the dragons and everything like that. That's one thing that I liked about it. The other thing that I liked about it is when a creature with converted mana cost 6 or more comes into play, I may return Dragon Wings back from the graveyard into play attached to her. So that's one of the awesome things about it. It just keeps coming back. Same thing with Dragon Breath. Gives her fire breathing, and it also gives her haste, so I can instantly swing with her the moment I cast her. Righteous Authority combos with Enter the Infinite. If you play it right, you have to be careful because you could accidentally deck yourself out. So you could deal like 99 damage or something silly like that, close to that at least. Eldrazi Conscription makes her, like, gives her +10/+10 and Annihilator and Trample. Pretty good card. Enlightened Tutor. Good card. I use it to stack the top of my library so that I can cast things off the top of the deck at, like, you know, with Narset's ability for free. So I can look for Omniscience with this card, and I can also look for an artifact if I want. Mystical Tutor, same thing, but I could look for, like, Enter the Infinite and stack it onto the top of the deck and just cast it for free. Long-term plans, pretty much the same deal, but it's any card in the deck, and it puts it third from the top. So you still will hit it with Narset's ability. And Fabricate lets you grab another artifact if you need ramp or equipment or whatever. Rhystic Study, good draw spell. You don't have to put much effort into it. Dak Faden, you can cast this guy to steal your opponent's mana acceleration artifacts in order to accelerate yourself further into the game in order to win quicker. He also acts as like a draw spell. Jace, Architect of Thought, I put in here just as mainly a draw spell, but his +1's okay if you're dealing with a lot of tokens. Scroll Rack, another draw spell, also lets you stack the top of your library. So if you end up accidentally drawing your big, heavy mana spell cards into your starting hand, you can use that to put them back on the top, and then you can cast them for free with Narset. Enter the Infinite, pretty self-explanatory. Same with Omniscience, you pretty much combo out and win the game. I like the idea of throwing a bunch of equipments onto Narset and just like bashing face with it. Time Warp, usually when I cast this off the top of my deck for free, I tend to win the game right afterwards. Same with Time Stretch. And same with Savage Beating. I had one game where I ended up swinging for like 10 damage or something with Narset, and then top decking a bunch of equipment, putting it into play, and then I ended up casting that from my hand with Entwine, and then I ended up, well, I also had Sword of Feast and Famine in play, but I ended up swinging for another 40 damage right after that, and just like obliterating my opponent. Aggravated Assault combos out with Sword of Feast and Famine, lets you take infinite attack steps. And, you know, I kind of imagine her, like, slinging spells almost like it's the 4th of July, seeing all these fireworks going off everywhere. It's kind of fun, but you never get to cast them all because your opponents just scoop at that point. Unless they have an answer. Path to Exile deals with problem creatures. Same with Swords of Plowshares. Wing Shards is a really good one. Deals with anybody like really trying to aggro you. Cyclonic Rift blows out a player. Super effective at dealing with guys with big board states. Capsize may end up coming out of this deck. When I first put this card into the deck, I wasn't sure about the buyback mechanic. If you could cast it for free with Narset's ability or not. As far as I understand it, you can cast this spell off the top of your deck for free, but you have to pay the buyback mechanic with your mana if you want that to happen. Again, I'm not entirely certain about that. Chaos Warp, kind of like a mini Narset in a way, if you plan it right. If you stack the top of your deck, you can hit one of your own permanents and just, you know, get something into play for free, or you can use it as a removal spell against your opponent. Aura of Silence. It allows you to deal with problematic artifacts or enchantments that are just getting in your way. Like, you know, for instance, that one that you can name a creature and it just can't be played. I can't remember what it is at the moment. Aura of Silence also slows down your opponents. Artifacts and enchantment spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to play. Day of Judgment, that may end up coming out of the deck. It's just a cheap board wipe. Good for dealing with early game big board states, threats like that. Winds of Wrath. If you have Narset equipped with an enchantment, this pretty much is a one-sided board wipe. Supreme Verdict. Another good one, but I can't see myself using it regularly. Like, it's just to deal with this early game board states. Divine Reckoning, one-sided board wipe in a way. Propaganda stalls your opponents. They just don't want to attack you, really. Same with Ghostly Prison. Quiet Contemplation, I put that in the deck for flavor and also for, like, you know, dealing with problematic creatures that are just aggroing you and, you know, being a pain. It's a pretty decent card. You're slinging a lot of non-creature spells anyways, so you might as well profit off of them all. Leyline of Anticipation lets you cast any one of your cards at instant speed, so play your equipments, all your other enchantments and stuff at the end steps of your opponent's turn. Leyline of Sanctity, it's mainly in there to, like, I don't know, deal with whatever opponents want to try to blow you out with, like, spells that target you directly, or to deal with sacrifice effects, like spells that target the player and force you to sacrifice your Narset. Karmic Justice, that's a hilarious card. I remember playing that one game and my opponents were like, oh, here, let me just blow you out and destroy all your non-creature permanents. And then I was like, are you sure you want to do that? And it's like, I point to Karmic Justice. It's like, yeah, I can destroy any one of your permanents, including your lands, everything, if you try to destroy my stuff. So they didn't really want to deal with me after that. Elixir of Immortality is kind of there for Enter the Infinite. It allows you to not deck yourself out, and it's a little way to gain life. Same thing with Time Spiral, and it also draws you a new hand, and it untaps all your lands as well, so you pretty much get another turn off that, and you end up putting all your stuff back into from your graveyard back into your library at the same time. Mindbreak Trap. These are all the counter spells I'm running. Of course, you're going to want to have counter spells to deal with stuff that are coming your way, whatever. Mindbreak Trap just exiles problematic spells. Conflux just counters things and it can't be countered in return. Arcane Denial lets you draw spells. The cool thing about this is it says you draw them at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So there's a chance that your opponent will forget and miss the trigger off this spell. So that's why I think it's kind of good. Muddle the Mixture. Transmute. Lets you look for anything for 2 mana or more. Also acts as, or just for 2 mana. Also acts as a counterspell. Counterspell, self-explanatory. Render silent. Counters something and prevents your opponent from casting anything else that turn. Rewind lets you counter stuff and then untap your lands. It's pretty decent. It's like a free counterspell. Pact of Negation, free counterspell, but with a drawback of potentially losing the game if you don't pay the mana cost. Increasing Vengeance copies any instant or sorcery spell. I treat these as counterspells, just extra counterspells if I need them to be. I can copy my opponent's counterspell. Same with Twin Casts. And that's the deck. Yeah, give me a like if you like it. Feel free to comment on it. I know there's a few things in the deck that I'd like to change. It's not exactly perfect, but it's as close as it's going to get for now. Until Wizards prints any other cards that I like and want to replace some of these other cards with. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.